Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm a guy on the internet, okay? But I did work in the healthcare setting for a long time. Not that that's justification, but my point is that I saw a lot of what people dealt with, and I still see it today, obviously running a large channel. Anyhow, what I want to talk about is how fasting has some really interesting effects when it comes down to a potential fatty liver. Again, I'm not a doctor. This isn't to diagnose, cure, treat anything, but still interesting fun facts. And if you're into fasting, this might just make you into it more. We're dropping videos daily, so please do hit that red subscribe button so you never miss a beat, and then hit that funny bell icon to turn on notifications. And then after this video, please, Thrive Market. It's the jam. Online membership-based grocery store, usually cheaper than most grocery stores, and it gets delivered right to your doorstep. It is hands down where I get my pantry staples, whether it's gonna be for fasting, for keto, for anything. So highly recommend you check them out. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Plus, they're a tremendous supporter of this channel, and I'm indebted to them for that. So thank you, Thrive Market. Now, let's rock and roll. So this first thing, we have to cover a little bit of what happens when we deprive ourselves of food, okay, of fuel. There's, of course, the basic stuff. We say, yeah, calories in, calories out. What ends up happening? Well, when you are at a net negative of calories, okay, meaning you have less calories coming in than you are expending, a big master switch, not literally, but figuratively, flips within your body. Okay, you have your normal fed state, and then you have your fasted state, which triggers what's called AMPK. AMPK stands for adenosine monophosphate kinase. And what it is a system that recognizes that you don't have a lot of food coming in, so it kicks you into a different energy system. See, contrary to popular belief, people tend to think that when you're fasting, you end up storing fat because you're slowing down your metabolism and yada yada. No, it's actually very black and white. The body just goes into a completely different mode of operation. You see, if you're sufficiently feeding yourself, your body always has the ability to synthesize new protein or synthesize new hair or synthesize new fat in your midsection, right? But if you are in a fasted state, or that AMPK switch is flipped to the other direction, that is virtually impossible. You won't gain anything if AMPK is activated. But then there's some really cool science when it comes down to how the body uses fat, okay? So because you're in that AMPK state, the body is trying to create energy however it can. It is just desperately looking for energy. It can't create it out of thin air, so it creates it out of your tissues. Well, one of the places it grabs it from first is going to be, of course, your fat tissue. But since fats can't get synthesized, they can't get deposited, you also catch a little bit of a break. And here's what I mean. The journal Cell Metabolism published a really earth-shattering study that showed when AMPK, that master switch, is flipped, especially during a fasted state, it stops the formation of fat in the liver. Whoa, that means that if you are potentially someone that is dealing with a fatty liver, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing anything, this could provide you with a valuable break, allowing the liver to not have to store fat for a little period of time. This could feasibly start developing new patterns where the liver doesn't store as much. But it also, since the fatty acids are already in the liver, they're likely to get liberated first. Okay, you can potentially utilize those fats as a fuel source, plus not be storing them at the hepatic liver level. That is really fascinating stuff, because that means that during a fast, you are not storing fat there. Now, generally speaking, a fatty liver is caused by an excess of glucose or an excess of fructose getting deposited through de novo lipogenesis, where you produce fat and store it there. So when you deprive yourself of carbohydrates via a fast, you drive those levels low anyway. So again, through two pathways, you're stopping the formation of fat in the liver. Okay, you're stopping the formation via AMPK, meaning you're not eating and it's flipping that switch, but you're also stopping the formation via not bringing in glucose. So that's pretty darn interesting. Now, of course, that fat gets mobilized, and where does it go? Well, here's the cool thing. You have an elevation in a certain transporter, in a certain receptor called CD36. What that means is the cells that would use fat for fuel suddenly have more nets to catch fat. So they catch that fat that potentially gets liberated from the liver, and they incinerate it and use it for fuel at a different place. So hypothetically, just purely hypothetical. You can visualize this. Let's say you have, I'm just going to use an animal to keep it completely safe here. Let's say you have a mouse, and that mouse is fasting, and that mouse has a fatty liver. Well, maybe that fat from the liver gets liberated, flows through the bloodstream in fatty acids, and then gets taken up by a cell, I don't know, in the bicep. Okay, and then it gets burned for fuel there. So you could potentially reallocate fat depositions and burn them in different places. It's fascinating, fascinating stuff. And there's just a bunch of science that talks about this, but nothing really connecting the dots. So anyhow, I can't overemphasize, I'm not a doctor. This is based on research that I've seen and my experience with fasting and my experience losing 100 pounds with fasting. But as always, keep it locked in here on my channel for more new and emerging science like this. See you tomorrow.